Joining me now is filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, more on the BBC scandal that has seen the resignation of the BBC's Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turness after the taxpayer-funded broadcaster aired deliberately and dishonestly doctored footage of Donald Trump's January 6th speech. But despite the BBC's history of institutional bias, the British left is circling the wagons as Donald Trump demands accountability. Let's hear from Tim Davie.
We have to be very clear and stand up for our journalism. We are a unique and precious organisation. And I see the free press, I see the weapon under pressure, I see the weaponisation. I think we've got to fight for our journalism. I'm really proud of our work, and the amazing work locally, globally that we're doing is utterly precious.
Unique and precious, really. Let's hear from Liberal Democrat MP Munira Wilson, who is terrified by the prospect of what she calls the Trumpification of our politics and media. Get ready to lose some brain cells.
When Donald Trump got involved and called the BBC corrupt, that we've had these two resignations overnight, and we've now had his press secretary claiming this as a victory for Trump. Now, the BBC belongs to Britain, and I think we should all be concerned whether it's foreign powers or indeed domestic powers, and we know that there are the likes of Farage and Reform who would love to see the BBC destroyed. That really worries me, because we cannot see the Trumpification of our politics and our media landscape. We've seen what that's done in America. So this is a moment for the BBC to reset and restore trust.
Ami, they really are terrified of any sort of accountability. Let's not forget the BBC is taxpayer-funded. Brits are obliged to pay for this leftist activist machine.
Yeah, what a grift. They pay $20 US a month for the BBC. That's more than Netflix. Okay, I don't know what that comes out to in Australian dollars, like $1,000. I can't do the math in my head. But very interestingly,
not quite.
Okay, but very interestingly, if you're blind, you get a 50% discount. I'm not joking. And if you have a black and white television, you get a 66% discount. So go figure. There are deals to be had at the BBC. Oh, God. Look, the truth is I learned so much from the BBC. For example, did you know that male breast milk is just as nutritious as female breast milk? I bet you didn't know that, yes, because they have so much invested in men being women. They did a story on how if you pump a man with enough hormones, he will secrete milk. Oh, God. I want to poke my mind's eye out. Oh, my God. I'm sorry, I couldn't finish that. No, they're the worst. They're the absolute worst. And it's always so funny to me when my liberal friends here, they always go, oh, American news is such BS, CNN and Fox News, such garbage. I listen to the BBC. Oh, my God, the effect reaction, it's so gross. Now, the BBC is awful. Let's not forget that during the Gaza conflict, they did a documentary on Gaza, and the narrator of this documentary was the son of a Hamas minister. Look, they're awful, obviously, and there's no wonder that GB News, which is the center-right, the right outlet there, is eating their lunch. They are now, for 4 months in a row, the #1 news channel in England. It's no wonder. They failed all across the board.
Well, that's extraordinary. I didn't know that, because GB News, their resources are tiny compared to the BBC, and every household with a television is obliged to give them money, as you explained. Now, Nigel Farage, whose Reform Party is leading the polls, was also asked about Donald Trump putting pressure on the BBC. This was his response.
What do you make of President Trump weighing into the conversation about the BBC and the British media landscape? Do you welcome that, or does that concern you?
Well, if I was the President of the United States of America, if I was the person making sure that the United Kingdom had security guarantees that meant that it could be defended, whereas on its own it would be helpless, and I'd been stitched up on the eve of a national election. I mean, people talk about election interference. What the BBC did was election interference. If you put yourself in Donald Trump's shoes, I think you'll understand why, when I had a chat with him on Friday, he made his feelings on the subject known to me in no uncertain terms and not in a quotable form.
I really do want to know what he said precisely, but the British media army, the left, will try to use this to damage Nigel Farage, given the relentless negative media Donald Trump receives in Britain. They believe they can hurt Farage because of his closeness to the president. But it hasn't hurt him yet. Look at this. Reform, as you can see, is well ahead of Labor and the Tories. That could be the next British Prime Minister. But there is just this, as you touched on, this preoccupation with just how terrible politics and the media is in the US and how much more free and rational they are in the UK, as they're arresting grandmothers for tweeting memes.
Yeah, get ready to say Prime Minister Farage. The Conservative Party, whose lunch he's eating, is not the party of Margaret Thatcher. That's for sure. As the great poet-philosopher Monty Python says, it has ceased to be. The Conservative Party has been hemorrhaging voters and votes. In May, they had a local election, and they were trounced by the Reform Party. And there's a sort of an exit of a Brexit, if you will, of Conservative members going toward the Reform Party. The Conservative Party had 16 local councils to defend. They lost 16 out of 16. That's just not going to do it. Yeah, and if you look at what the polls are saying in terms of what British voters want, well, far and away, the number one issue is immigration. And that's where the Reform Party shines. The Conservative Party has been echoing much of the sentiment of the Labour Party, frankly, when it comes to immigration. The number two issue is the NHS, the National Health Service. That's a total tire fire, and a tire fire not only under the Labour Party, but also under the Conservative Party. What you have to understand, certainly for our American viewers, is that the politics in England is different than the American political process, and same with you guys. Is that in their process, like the Conservative Party is more like the middle of the road Democrats, and the Labour Party are more like, the Squad. They're really become far left, and it's just not getting done. And now the Conservative Party is kind of getting hip to that, and they're trying to out Catholic the Pope, and they have a new leader, and she's trying to out-reform the Reform Party, but the polls are showing the voters aren't buying it. So yeah, it's a fascinating mix of what's going on there.
They've been burnt too many times, the Brits. The Tories say all the right things, kind of like those rhinos, say all the right things before an election, and then they get into power and they govern like they're from the left. And now that there is a reform option, as you saw in the polling, they're getting a lot of support. Now, Ami, we will get to the Jeffrey Epstein saga, but first I want to play you a clip from a drag queen named Ariel who explains her devotion to the New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani.
It gives me, maybe for the first time in my life in American politics, a real sense of hope. The mayor of New York City is Zoran. To actually have a politician that I really believe in and that I feel like really stands up for the people I care about most, from Palestinians to trans people to Jews to just my neighbors all around Crown Heights where I live, who live in rent-stabilized apartments, the working families of New York. To actually have a politician who's truly standing with them, who has policies and plans.
There you go. He really cares about Muslims, the trans community, Jews. You're a Jewish New Yorker. Do you agree with Ariel there? Is Zoran committed to make your life better?
A Muslim, a trans, and a Jew walk into a bar. That's a party. Look, she was very sweet. I'm a sucker for a crying lady. What can I tell you? Okay, what was your question again? Do I feel safer as a Jew with Mamdani? Yeah, I'm going to go with no on that. I'm going to go with no. You know, it's so, and I've mentioned this before, and it bears repeating, right? So when you go to a synagogue here in New York and other cities in America, but I'll speak about New York, there's security threats. We have to pay for security to stand in front of our synagogue. And during Bloomberg, what Bloomberg would do is he gave us police officers. The police officer would go to, and they would station a squad car outside of every major synagogue in New York. And then during Bolshevik Bill de Blasio, he took that away. He said no more police officers in front of synagogues. And then when Eric Adams came, he put them back. I guarantee you, there'll be no police cars in front of synagogues under the Mamdani regime. And put aside all the Jewish issues, Rita, let's play a game. You like games? I love games. Let's play a game called Did He Say These Words, okay? Did Mamdani say the words, violence is an artificial construction? Yes, he did. When asked about prisons, did he say, what purpose do they serve? Yes, he did. He's a madman. He is going to destroy New York City. So I don't feel safe here as a Jew. I don't feel safe here as a New Yorker. No American will feel safe in the new New York City made under the model of Zohar Mamdani.
Well, you're going to have a lot of sort of social workers doing group hugs with everybody. So maybe not as many police officers, but there'll be some alternative that I'm sure will work beautifully. Now, let's get to the latest revelations about disgraced financier, sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Let's start with these emails between discredited author Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein, who was a friend of his, where he told the pedophile that he could be the bullet to end Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. Wolff told Epstein in an email, you can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Oh, what a slimy character. Ami, I just want to go to the biggest revelation, what was the headline news earlier today and what much of the media focused on. And sadly, many people don't look beyond the headline. The headlines read, Trump spent hours at Epstein's house with victim of sex trafficking, email alleges. But Ami, the victim, who was referred to as simply Victim 1, with the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee deliberately withholding her name, well, the name has now been revealed, and it is the late Virginia Giuffre, who has said before her death repeatedly, including earlier this year, that she witnessed no wrongdoing from Donald Trump during their interactions. So to ask you a very lengthy question, are today's revelations another nothing burger, or is there something there that concerns you?
Oh, God, I hate that term, nothing burger. Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein, two incredibly credible people, two upstanding pillars of society. To answer your question, I went through, I sat and combed through all those emails. It took me 20 seconds. There were 3 emails. Each one was like 2 sentences long, okay? Did I miss something? We read them. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what the issue is. He spent hours there. You know how long hours is? Hours is like going to like an event for a couple. What is days is something. Hours? And then the other email that the smoking gun that the media is talking about is he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop. I mean, I don't know. He asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop. I just don't see where the smoking gun is. I don't see the issue. I think actually the more fascinating part of this whole Epstein saga is how the hard right is dealing with this, right? So you have Marjorie Taylor Greene strutting her stuff in the left-wing media, and she's being hailed, right? The View loves her all of a sudden. And she's using this to weaponize against Donald Trump. She's so gross. She really is gross. She's embodying this horseshoe theory of politics, right? Right there on The View. And it's really gross. But even more gross is people like her and her ilk using the anti-Semitism is all streaming out of them, right? Where they're all the claims unsubstantiated with zero evidence. The Mossad is involved in this. Look, the whole thing is just gross. Kash Patel is a good guy. And I think if there's something there, it'd be released. There's just nothing there, but they will not let this thing go.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.